Hey everyone, this is Steve from Aquatic Forest. Today I want to walk you guys through all our aquariums that we keep at home, and wanted to show you and share what we got. Been an aquarium hobbyist for a long time. I would say almost um, since first grade. I would say when I got my first aquarium. So um, I love everything about aquariums, and happy to share. Enjoy. All right, so here's our first aquarium, and it's a 20-gallon rimless aquarium made by UN, and I'm running a Kessel light, tuna sun, and for the equipment I have a slim hang on the back filter made by Jenica. I've reviewed this filter on our channel before, and I actually discovered this filter in Hong Kong, and I saw the slim look of it, and I really like this filter because, I mean, they're all made the same. It's just I really like the cover. I like that metal look. Now there's a lot of hang on the back filters like this of different brands, but I believe it's all probably made by the same manufacturer. But just this one in general, like, I just like the cover. It has it's got this brushed metal kind of, it might not even be metal, it's just some sort of a plastic that looks like metal, and it looks nice. It runs very quiet and does a good job. It has 4 filter cartridges in there. Works like any other. It's slim and it works like any other hang on the back filter, really. Nothing much special, except I like the cover. That's why I run it. And it has a surface skimmer, so it could skim all the scum. You know, if you're into aquariums, there's like a slime or oil buildup on the top that this actually can take care of. But the only downside with this is that it sucks in all the plants that are floating over here, so you'd have to clean this from time to time, the overflow right here. And yeah, you could also change the flow on this if you like. And Kessel, the reason why I went with Kessel is because it's overall a reliable brand, and it's been around for a while. It feels like, you know, it's made with quality, and I just like it. There are other lights that are out there that are nice too. This one in particular has a fan in there, and it runs really quiet. I would say you can compare this with the Aqua Illuminations light, but the Aqua Illuminations light has a fan too, but the dust somehow gets in there, and then the fan becomes really loud over time. So that's why I ended up using Kessel, because, well, one reason is because it looks good, and the fan inside, the dust doesn't have a direct way of getting in there and like causing it to become caked up with dust in a way. So far I've been running this tank for about 3 years, and this Kessel is still very silent. Okay, so inside the tank, okay, well, I have this UN tank, and I also purchased the stand. The stand, it's nice, it works well with the tank, and it has a nice flush finish to it. Overall, yeah, I'm running a CO2 in here. I have some Dragonstone, like extra Dragonstone, and then I used to use chemical actually for fertilizer. I don't use it anymore. I just do water changes now for all my tanks, about once every 3 weeks, about once a month, I would say. I change out 5 gallons. Even though this tank has a lot of bio load, it doesn't really get dirty. I think, well, all I have in here are guppies I have a lot of guppies in here, as you can see, and I have shrimp. Don't have an algae eater, so my cleanup crew in here is just shrimp, cherry shrimp. You can see them, they're all around the rocks, the dragonstone. They love being on the dragonstone. I think the dragonstone is so porous that like it just has a lot of stuff that grows on there that the shrimp like to feed on. It's primarily, I would say, dominated by Rotala in here. Rotala is such a strong plant. It grows so fast. Have a little bit of Java fern here. And in the front, I have some pearlweed and moss. I have some moss, Christmas moss that vines through the pearlweed. And then have some AR mini right here. Alright. Oh, and I have some mermaid grass right here. It's a very tough plant to grow, but it does well in this tank. It shows that mermaid moss doesn't really need a very clean tank. I have a very big bio load in here. I have like probably over 100 guppies in a 20 gallon, and yeah, it's got a nice balance. The plants somehow can take care of the bio load here such that I don't have to clean the tank as much. Okay, here's the next tank that I'd like to cover. Again, it's a 20 gallon fish tank, rimless by UN with the UN stand, and running the same thing for a filter. Used to run a canister filter for this one. I had the UN Delta 60, and I swapped that out for the Jenica. Same thing as the other 20 gallon tank, and I'm also running the Kessel. I still like the hang on the back filter because it's just easier to maintain. Like canister filters, I think they're very good as a biofiltration unit, mechanical biofiltration unit, because you can put in a lot of like media and things like that. But I think I just like the ease of maintenance. Like for the canister filters, you have to take it apart, there's just a lot more components to have to maintain. So I still like the hang on the back filter design. And it does its job. It does well. It does great, actually. As long as your system is balanced, of course. Okay, in here we have, it's the same size, it's 20 gallons. It's a 20 gallon rimless tank. And we have a dense growth of pearlweed in here. And I love pearlweed. You can make it any way you want. Pearlweed can grow tall. It can grow very tall if you want it, if you don't trim it. And it could also be a ground cover plant if you trim it down. Like if you trim it down, it could look like a ground cover, kind of like the leaves are a little bit bigger than a Monte Carlo. I would say it looks nice. In a way, like if you want smaller leaves, of course you go with a Monte Carlo, or you go with a dwarf, what is that called? The baby tears, dwarf baby tears, the baby tears. And those actually, like, they look nice too. Baby tears, I had it carpeted with baby tears before, and then yeah, baby tears, even if you don't, you have to keep cutting it down too. Baby tears gives it a nice denser, actually. They have smaller leaves, and a little bit tougher to take care of. They need more CO2. We're pumping CO2 here too, so the plant leaves are very plump and lush. And then we have a cryptocorin here in the middle. We have guppies and we have some zebra danios. Zebra danios are like one of my favorite fishes to have. They just provide non-stop entertainment. They don't stop. They always dart back and forth, and just love having these fish in the tank. It gives it a very nice natural look. And then in the back we have a few strands of Rotala, and we have some crypto spiralis in the back. It kind of gives it a look like I mean, I would say it's a little different than jungle val and things like that, but it's got a different gives it a different look. I would say I like this plant overall. I'm talking about this one right here. And then we have some spider wood in the back. Yep. And then we can see that there's still some little bit of dorsite growing in the middle over here, and cryptocorin. And then I have about like a 3-inch substrate bed that tapers down to 1 inch here. So you used to have a slope. I mean, if we trim it to make the pearl weed look like ground cover, it would have like a nice slope going up. And then inside we have some cherry shrimp as well. Those are the cleaners. So that's all I have as cleaners, cherry shrimp. This is a 10-gallon rimless tank that we have here. This one is a tank by ADA. Yep, we jumped on the bandwagon, wanted a piece of the ADA. So yeah, I think it's nice. The ADA and the UN rimless tanks, the only difference is that the UN has like a 45-degree angle cut. The ADA is more traditional. How they mate the glass, it's like a normal aquarium. Let me show you the UN one to show you a comparison. See, the way they join the edge is 45 degrees right here. And both of them, I think they use some sort of a low iron glass. You can see the reflection of the glass, like down the depth of it is kind of like a clear bluish. Usually if it's not a low iron glass, the reflection would be greenish. Okay, let me go across. So as you can see, it's got a bluish reflection. And then for the light, we have a twin star light. These lights, they're kind of cool because I like that it's a little different than Kessel, in that Kessel is kind of like a directional LED light, so it creates a shimmer in the tank. You can see, so the Kessel's got a shimmer. Like you can see, there's like a background shimmer to it. It's a directional. It's one bulb basically, and then you can see there's a shimmer in the background. And then the twin star has a bunch of bulbs. You can see from the reflection, it has like the green bulbs, the red, and the blue, and it has a filter on the top so that it kind of smooths out the light that emits out of the light fixture. So you don't really get a shimmer. You get a very nice, even kind of lighting. It's a little more, I would say, it's a different effect. It's very pleasant to look at. And I would say, actually, for plant growth, this light is better than that I've had better results with this than the Kessel. And in here, we have just some random fish. This is actually my wife's tank, and she takes care of this. We have some mermaid grass. It's pretty, I would say, a higher level plant to take care of. And yeah, we have CO2 in here too. It's heated. We have a lot of ammonia growing in here. We have some Raspora and one Siamese algae eater in here. We don't have any shrimp. Actually, one Siamese algae eater, I believe, does the same job as like an army of shrimp, of cherry shrimp. Here we have like a glob of moss. We had some weeping moss in here, and we had some Christmas moss, and now they're all just jumbled up now in here. So we have to kind of try to separate it. I don't know. It may be an impossible task, but we'll have to address this at some point. And we have some Riccia in here. And then for the filter, we have something similar like the Jenica. We used to run a Eheim canister filter, but again, it's just a lot of work, I would say, to keep a canister filter going. And then we ended up swapping that for a hang on the back filter, and this one we actually found online. So the Jenica ones that we had to order it from, I think, AliExpress, which took a long time to get here because they have to ship it from out of the country somewhere, and it took almost a month to get here. And then this one, actually, they sell it on Amazon, which is quite similar. I mean, it's pretty much the same filter, but they call it A-Key, and it also has like this brush metal look, which we like. And this is a little bit smaller. They have the bigger model too, with 4 cartridges. This one has 3, because this is a smaller tank. But I still feel like, yeah, this does well. It's overkill for a 10-gallon tank, but it does the same thing. It has the same features. It has that surface skimmer right there too, and yeah, overall does a good job. It's a good substitute for the canister filter. Yeah, and this fish tank is. You don't really need a large fish tank to make it look good in your house. This is just a 10-gallon fish tank, and it gives it a nice peaceful look, nice natural and peaceful look to any space. And yeah, it's good. It's a good addition to any house, I would say. Any real estate. I always like to tell my clients I'm into real estate. I'm an agent too, and then any aquarium of any size really can really make the space in a house look nice. And this is our 30-gallon long tank. It's more of a traditional tank. It's not rimless. And this is our Growout tank. So as you can see from the last 3 tanks that we have a lot of plant growth, and then some of those plants we have to move them out, and then we put it in here, and hopefully we can grow them healthy. This is our latest tank that we started about a month ago, and we had a lot of pearl weed growing, and recently I've been removing it because, yeah, it's been covering the light too much. So I've been slowly removing it, the pearl weed. And first time I removed it, I removed about half, and then within a week it grew back and it covered the whole surface again. Pearl weed grows, not pearl weed, but duckweed, the floaters. Duckweed grows so fast. And then in here we're running some Amazonia soil substrate. Today I introduced a little more. Got a bag of substrate. I picked up a bag, and then tried to increase the depth of the substrate. So now we have a good 1.5 inches in here. Some places it's a little more shallow with about 1 inch. We trimmed some ammonia from my wife's tank, and we put it here. The other day we just didn't have enough thickness of substrate that the ammonia, when we planted it down, it just floated back up, but now it seems to hold with about 2 inches of substrate over here. And in this long tank, we introduced zebra danios, and they love it. They have a lot of room to swim. So the bubbles are from the new substrate that we put in there, and hopefully it'll balance out. The aquarium will balance out. I'm gonna try not to shift it too much. Maybe flatten it a little bit, and then I'll leave it alone. And then we have one molly in there. I bought that molly for my saltwater tank, and for algae control, because mollies they can live in salt water actually, but you have to slowly introduce it into salt water. So I might use this guy in my saltwater tank Refugium in the future, to see if you can clean up some of the algae in there. But overall, I like him in here, so I'll keep it in here for now. He's really healthy, and looks like he's enjoying the environment. And in here, I don't have any shrimp. I have one Chinese algae eater in the back, and it's working hard and working out pretty well. Because in the future, I'd like to see the zebra danios spawn. Because if you have shrimp, the shrimp tend to eat the eggs that they drop right away, so it wouldn't have a chance of spawning in a tank with shrimp. And probably have to remove the guppy and the molly, maybe introduce it in another tank. Because usually tanks with like one species tends to have a higher chance of spawning a particular type of fish. All right. Oh, and this tank does not have any filtration at the moment. And it's doing all right. I'm just doing water changes once every 2 weeks. And so far, so good. And then here's my saltwater tank. I have a baby blue tang in there. I know this is about 40 gallons, this tank, and I'm sure this tang will outgrow this tank at some point. Might give it to my friend one day who has a bigger tank. I couldn't resist. These tangs will grow big, and I hope it does get a chance to grow big. And then I have a clownfish, and then I have a 6-line wrasse in here. So yeah, it's a mixed reef tank. So I have mostly LPS corals, like soft corals. You can see I have scolemia here, just a bunch of little corals here that I'm growing. It's also rimless. This tank is rimless, and I'm running Ecotech light, XR15 light. I have to say the saltwater world has lights that are a little bit more powerful, and I think you can transfer these lights to freshwater tanks. They offer a lot higher. They offer lights that are a lot more powerful with a lot more power, and it may be good too, actually, to grow plants. And in here we have like an MP40 wave maker, which is kind of like a power head. And then we have a return pump right here that returns the water from the sump system that we have. And then there's an overflow box here, so kind of acts like so in saltwater tanks we also have like this oil that floats up to the surface, so we do also need to skim the surface of the water. In the garage we have the other part of the filtration for the saltwater tank. I have the water that overflows from the tank into a refugium, and this is like a kind of a slower flow area where the water comes in through here, and then it flows through some plants or macroalgae. We have some Caulerpa prolifera right here. And this is kind of like a frag tank that I converted into a refugium. We have some Caulerpa prolifera, and we have some Chaetomorpha, which is kind of like, I guess, the moss maybe of the saltwater world. It comes in clumps. It grows in clumps. And yeah, I may introduce the molly in here, the black molly in here, for some algae control at some point, because there aren't any critters in here. I just have a few snails in here as the cleanup crew, and there are no predators or anything for the molly. And we'll see, maybe I could start a little saltwater molly tank in here. And then here I have some dosing pumps that I dose to maintain the water quality of the saltwater tank. And then down here I have a sump system. Saltwater is a little more complicated. Yeah, I don't have any filters in here except for a skimmer. And then saltwater requires RO water, so I have RO water that's plumbed to the saltwater tank to top off the water that gets evaporated. Anyway, thanks for joining in. Hope you guys liked this video and enjoyed seeing the tanks, and I'll see you next time.